Yes.
Yeah. We are here today to see or to check something about getting more from our automated tests. Yeah, that's a subject I'm working with a lot, because with a lot of clients we have always this test automation, and it's very valuable, because we can also we can use it as documentation, and we can test our applications with it, but we also can do something more with it. And that's what I want to talk with you about today. So first, a little agenda. First, I want to introduce myself a bit, so you know who I am and what I do. And then we have a short presentation about why reusing our tests and for what purpose. I also want to take a short look at how that works locally or in the cloud. And then we can maybe have a short break, 5 or 10 minutes, maybe later. I have to check the time for that. After the break, we will start with the workshop. The workshop is about security, because that's the subject I've been working with the last couple of years. And I will show you everything from the start. So if you have any question, raise a hand, or put it in the chat. I will try to answer it if there's time for that. I also will do a short demo on how the reporting works. So how do I do that? And maybe at the end, if there is enough time left, we can see how that works in the cloud. And of course, some time for questions. So, who am I? My name is Michael. I'm 30 years old, and I live in The Hague in the Netherlands. And I work as a test engineer at Praegus, also a company in the Netherlands. And we have a lot of nice clients that we work for. And I also can enjoy. I'm in the test business for 5 or 6 years right now, and I did 1 year performance testing in that, because I wanted to try that too. And the last couple of years, especially the last year, I've been working in security, trying to use the regression sets and the test suites that clients have for security purposes. And we will check in a later slide what my vision on that is. I also do some stuff in the free time, video games, TV series, movies, and a lot of technical IT stuff at home. So my field of work. So I started 5-6 years ago with a lot of manual testing, and I got my TMAP, ISTQB, and wanted to use that knowledge in my field of work. So I did that for a couple of years, and then after that, I got a bit bored, not for the quality assurance part, but I wanted to do something technical. So I started to learn test automation, and went on and used a lot of different tools. And the tool I used the most was Fitness at the time. And when I got good at that and mastered the tool, I also wanted to do something more with it. So I started to implement test automation. I wanted to train teams. So people that just started in the field, which got the TMAP, ISTQB. I could also train for test automation. So that's really been a fun project. I also like the subject CI/CD, and also helping companies with the transition in that. So when they are coming from literally an old school development cycle, I help them with those projects. Azure DevOps is one of my interests, so I've been working on that lately. and security scans on demand. So it's just security scans, just little projects or implementation in CI/CD or test pipelines. So the tools I use for that are Fitness. We at Praegus call it the toolchain because we have some nice plugins with it, which make a very different tool of it. For security, we use the Burp Suite OWASP SEP for the scanning. For performance, we have JMeter, which I will tell something about later, but yeah, there's not enough time to show something with that too, so it will mainly be security. And we are also going to do something with Postman and APIs. Check a bit of that, see how that works with the scan. And at last, we always have reporting, and we do that with Orangebeard. That's also a cloud application where we send the data to. Before I go any further, I will explain something about the workshop. So we are going to use some of these tools to set up a little test suite, and then we will connect that to a security tool and do some basic security scanning. And the goal for that is that we can use that locally or in the cloud to do some security scanning with all the test suites that we already have, which are very valuable, and we can use them for that. Why do we want to increase test value with our tests? So my vision on reusing tests is that the most clients I always see that they have internal testers. They sometimes do something with test automation, and there are also clients which do a lot of manual testing. And if you want to release really fast, you need to automate those things, so you can have a really nice development cycle. And when you automate your regression sets and connect security or performance to it, you have your functional tests and your quality of that, but you can also say something about performance and security. And I think that's really valuable because nowadays most companies hire a pen tester or a performance tester, which will maybe pen testers come once a year or a couple of times a year, and the pen tester or the performance tester maybe joins the team sometimes more. But it's not that you have those people in your team and they do those tests daily, but you can do something with security and performance in your team, and you don't need those people every day. And it's really valuable to do some security scans or performance scans maybe every week or a couple of times a week to check the quality of your security and performance of your application. So why is that so interesting? So sometimes you have performance issues or security issues which are relatively simple to fix. And if you do some security scanning or performance testing on maybe a daily basis or a weekly basis, then you will find those issues earlier. And then when the pen tester comes once a year and he finds all this stuff, maybe you could have fixed that already because the scan can find those issues. And that's really valuable to have in your team, and maybe like an extra profession as a tester to do something with that. So the team then is on top of the quality. So you can definitely say something about performance or security or all the things you are testing. And what I also see is that testers become more technical. So you have most testers start as manual testers, doing everything by hand, and then they learn something about test automation and maybe want something more with that. and maybe some do developing or programming, and they want to do something more. So that's also a nice addition for those people. So we are going to look at some tools, and you can use them on premise or in the cloud. I will try to demo some of the tools locally and in the cloud. And locally, I will do especially for understanding, and you can see everything in the GUI. And for the cloud, I just run command line scripts, which do the same thing, but you can deploy them in a CI/CD pipeline or something else. So the toolchain fitness tool I talked about earlier is really easy to work with in the GUI. So you can create your test scripts, which we'll do in a second. And you can also easily run it through Maven in the cloud, or maybe also locally. And the OWASP SEP tool we are going to use for security scanning is really easy to deploy with Docker. You can also run that locally with the GUI, or you can run it through the command line. A lot of options there. For Gmeter, we also have the command line option, so that's really easy too. And for Postman, you have another tool called Newman, which is also for command line running, and you can do the same that we will do in the GUI. So, and eventually we use those tools, and we send all the traffic to Orangebeard, which is the reporting tool I use, and we will check the data there. So I think it's a bit early for a break, but we can maybe do that later. And we'll start the workshop right now. So before I start with the workshop, I made a slide for every tool so we can discuss the tools and we can see what we will do with them. So we have this tool Fitness, and I already cloned that on my computer. So we are going to compile that with Maven, and then we have a GUI where we can create test scripts, and I will show you some of that. You can also, if you want to try this yourself, you can download it on GitLab. And we also have a training for that. And if you go to the Tree Academy online, then you can download this whole package and can start the tool yourself and try making scripts or do the security scan with it. So I will close the presentation and open my Visual Studio Code. I hope everyone can see this. Let me know if not. So I have this workspace created here in Visual Studio Code, and I have 3 projects. The first one is basically the fitness we have, the project. The second one is the package with all the additions and plugins we use in this project. And the last one is a vulnerable Docker container with APIs, which we will use with Postman later. So to start this project, so this is after we've cloned the project, you just open a bash terminal or something you want to run it with. And if you have Maven on your computer, which you can also easily install.
Hi, Michael.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt your demo. Can you share the link of the toolchain zip to the chat, because some people are requesting for it?
Yeah.
I think that's the easiest way.
Let me see. Where is the chat?
It's an interesting one. The Zoom chat, yeah. At least I like your background. Thanks.
Yeah, so you can download that package and try it yourself. And I think the presentation is recorded, so you can, I think, always check this later. So when we clone this project, we are going to compile it, and it's very easy. You have to just be in the folder where you're in. So I can see that right here. I'm in the boilerplate project. So we say Maven compile. Compile is for compiling the application with Maven, and then exec, and that's the part of the command that says, yeah, we want to start the tool. So when we activate this, it will compile the tool. The first time this will take really long because it has to download all the dependencies, but I already done that, so yeah, for me it's really fast. So I've started this tool, and it's the basic port is 9090. So I've created this browser, and when we reload this on localhost 9090, we directly see the tool. So let me see. So when we open the tool, it looks like this. You have this menu here where you can maybe turn on the dark mode or open the sidebar. I think the sidebar is really helpful because then you can see the structure of your tests. And I've created a script which isn't included in the link I did send, but you can create one yourself easily. And we are going to use the juice shop today for this demo. I created a login script for it. So I will first start the juice shop so we can test against that. And I have a slide for that. And I'll first explain the juice shop. So the juice shop, maybe some of you guys and girls know this application. The juice shop is a vulnerable application with a lot of vulnerabilities in it. You can easily start it with Docker. You can download pull the container, and it's created by the OWASP Foundation, which is a foundation which looks at all the vulnerabilities in the world, and then every couple of years they make a report of the top 10 most found vulnerabilities. And this application has a lot of them, so you can try to hack this yourself, and there is even a scoreboard in it which you can see your achievements. So we will start this up, and we will try our test script to log into the application and log out, and it's very easy. And after that, we will check if we can do that with the security scan, which we also have in our environment. So I downloaded this Docker Compose file, which you can also easily find in Google. If you Google juice shop, I think it's the top result you find. And all that is in this document is the image we use, so the juice shop with the latest version, and we say the port on this container, which is internally, we map on the same port on our local computer. So if I start this and I go to my browser and I say localhost port 3000, then I will find the juice shop. So in Visual Studio Code, this is really easy because you can just click on it and say compose up. And then we will see that it took a couple of seconds to start it. So let's check that and go to the browser. So we have the juice shop right here. So if I load it, we will see the juice shop. So it's just a vulnerable web shop where you can order juice, and there are a lot of vulnerabilities in it. So we will try to scan this, and hopefully we will find some vulnerabilities in it. So I made this test script. I will take it I will open it and we will see what is in. So it's just a basic script and where we say login, and then we just click on account and log out with those X spots. I did not make any assertions for checking anything, but the checks are in this. So if we can't click on this, the test tool will tell us. I created a little scenario for the login script because, yeah, if you want to check some things after you've logged in, then you always want to run that part of the script. So I've made this scenario library here, which you can also find a lot of examples in this tool. And I created a scenario login. So we basically click on account, login, we enter this email for the email part, the input field, and we enter this password for the password field, and then we click on the ID login button, and then we've logged in. If this user is in the database, of course. So we have to check if that's true. So when I click on this script and we click on test, then it's going to start. You see a lot of stuff. And there is a problem. There's always a problem in presentation. I've checked it multiple times today. Maybe try to restart the tool. No, this is not working. Check some settings first. So the basic steps for before we start this test script is the part where we set up our Chrome browser. So we want to start the script with Chrome, and somewhere in the browser tests is a page suite setup, and when we edit that, we can see the configurations. So there are a lot of configurations here for all the browsers. So when you make this for yourself, you can just delete everything you don't need. So if we want to start with the Chrome driver, we can unnote this and save it. So then when we start the script, it will use the Chrome driver, and hopefully that will work. It's very strange. Check the...
Seems like it's complaining about a Java version or not, 12 versus 11. I'm trying to read it on the screen. Maybe you compiled it with a different version of Java.
Let's try something this morning.
Yeah, it was V12 against V11 or something, but it was quite fast on the screen.
So in version 8, I think right now, so let's try to compile it again.
You don't need to throw away all the stuff in the drivers in there before compiling it again. Let's see.
Yeah, we can try that. when we add clean for it, we make a new compile and we delete all the fixtures in the toolchain. So we have a clean install. That's always in the presentation because I've tried this multiple times tomorrow or this morning, and you know, all times it worked. Yeah, that helps. So you see the Chrome. Thanks for the person that noted the Java version.
Yeah, you're welcome, Michael.
Yeah, you see the Chrome driver coming up, and you see that there is no account for the user that we need. So we can go to the OWASP juice shop, and we want to log in and create a user. We of course can also make a script for this. Let's reload the script. So we just want to a user for this email. And the password is fake one. So just made this user, and when we try this test again, I think it will work. So we did our test, and it successfully tested if we could log in and log out. So that worked. You can also see the scenario here and all the steps we did. To log in and log out our application. So we now have the juice shop online on our own computer. We have this login script that we've checked, and basically if you're at a client or somewhere else and you have a lot of the scripts, what I said earlier, that's very valuable because we have all this information about our application, all those test suites and test scripts, and we can basically go to the whole application if we want. So if we want to check on performance or if we want to check on security, we can also use all the information we have, all the test suites, to put the traffic through a proxy, which we can start up in our security tool. And we can also use Postman for API testing and set the same proxy, and then all the traffic that comes from Postman goes to the same security tool. So now when we know this script works, I will go to the next slide and talk about the security tool we are going to use. So we are using the security tool OWASP SEP, which is a very nice vulnerability scanner. It's not really a pen testing tool, but you can do a lot of stuff with it, not just vulnerability scanning. And we will run the juice shop test case through this scanner and see what happens. The tool is also created by I think by OWASP, which is the foundation, which does research in all the vulnerabilities in the world. And the tool is focused on those top 10 vulnerabilities. So when we scan the juice shop with this tool, we hopefully find a lot of them because the application is really bad. We can do some passive and active scanning with this tool. Passive is that's a scanning on the request and the response level. So normally if you would go to a website and you send a request and you get a response, that's no attack, so that's legal. We can scan passively. It's a little bit of a gray area, but you could scan passively to applications, but you of course will also or always do this with your own applications. We can also do an active scan. And an active scan is just next level, just attacking the cause that you got, and then looking at the response for possible vulnerabilities. We then will create a scope to select the URLs that we want to scan, because sometimes you have connections with Google or AWS or something, and you don't want to scan those. So we are selecting and making a scope for our scan. And we will then activate the scan and we'll generate a report. So we can do something with it. We can maybe pass it to the security team, or maybe you have a security tester in your team, or maybe you can read this yourself. It's all possible. So I've started up OWASP already. It's nice to mention, I think, that you can also Google OWASP on Google, and then you will immediately find the tool and you can install it with this GUI. That's really easy to do. The first thing to notice when you start it up is in the bottom right here. So we see a primary proxy is started on my computer's IP with this port 8081. And we still don't see any traffic, we don't see any sites in our project, and we don't have any alerts just yet. So we now need to go back to our testing suite with this one test we have. And what we want to do is when we start this test, we want to say to the Chrome driver that all the traffic we have here, that it also needs to go to the proxy we've started up in this security tool. So to do that, we go back to the suite setup where I was editing earlier because of the problem. And when we edit the suite setup, we want to tell to the Google Chrome driver that we want to add a proxy to it. So in the fitness/toolchain, you can do that with one of these examples. So we here have one example that says start driver for Chrome with profile and your argument or whatever you create. So what we want to do is we want to note this one, so we don't use that anymore. And we want to activate this one, which says that we can give a profile with it. So let's format the page. So we have nice columns. And I created this variable myself. You can name it whatever you want. And to put something in it, I created this little script. And this script uses a map fixture, which is fixtures are the functionality in the tool. So for every part of the script, you could possibly use another kind of function to do something with it, or compare a PDF, or create a JSON file, or whatever you want, text files. You can almost test everything with this tool. So we've created this block with the map fixture, which is generating JSON for me, and the JSON goes into the Chrome driver we are starting. So let's unnote this one and this one. And what we do here is we set values for the local host. You can also put local host here. It's basically the same sometimes. And we have port 8081 here. And we saw that port in the OWASP tool. So we want to activate this proxy in the project. So when we go to the project, we have two options. If you have HTTP or HTTPS traffic, then you can activate one of them, but you can also activate both of them. That's no problem. So what we do now is we set these two options and we put the whole map in this variable. And when we do that, of course, this part is above the part that we run here. So that will be first created and then the map will be sent on the Chrome driver. So I will save this page. And we saw earlier that, where is it? Yeah, we have no sites right here. So if we go here and we open our juice shop suite with our login script and we test it again, I hope we get some traffic in more problems. This time it's not the Java, I feel. I think it's some problems with this fixture package. So I'm going to try to build this again. It just takes a couple of seconds. Then I will go back to the presentation while we're waiting. Just can't see this. So we just open a new one for this folder. Create a clean install. So we install this package again. I think because this package is also built with another Java version, it won't work. So the wrong version. Let me get it out of the other one. So let's try that again. So while this is installing, we will take a look at the OWASP SEP tool. So when we start the test in 1 or 2 minutes, we will see some traffic here in the sites tree. And then we will see our domain and all the calls that we have. And we are going to scan the URL that we found and all the calls that are in there with our security tool. When you have a lot of functional tests and test automation, you will have a lot of information here, so you will eventually find more issues. In this demo, we only have one test script, so we have a little part of the juice shop here, but we can always use a spider or something to find something, some more pages, and then the scan, on that. So let's have a look. So this build is okay. And now I'll go back to this one. Compile the tool again. Or should do it clean. So let's try another time. Yeah, that works. again, Java problems. So we see the same thing, it logs in, and the script is okay because we've created this user, but we've added this proxy map to the ground driver. So we said we want all the traffic from our test scripts or suites or what we're running. We want to go that to this IP or this port. And that's where we have the security tool. So now you will see that we have the URL and the Jew shop with the port, and we have some information. So we have not a lot, but we have some information here. So normally, when you scan a website or a web application or a shop, and if you have like scripted the whole Jew shop, and you would have every part and the admin part, and you've created a script for everything to test, then you will find also Google and other domains, which are of course not your property, so you don't want to scan them. But now we just have this one because we've only targeted the login part of the Jew shop. So we can right click on this and we say include in context, and then the default context. So a context is just like a scope where we can say we want this URL with a wildcard after it. So everything that has this base URL in it. If there is something else that you find in your test, which is not with this base URL, then it's just skipped. So you don't have to worry that you scan that part. But you can do a lot of things with this tool. You can also create authentication if you may be doing API scans and you have a token which you have to generate again and again and again. Then you can create something for that, and yeah, you can do a lot of stuff with this tool. But for now, we just want basic configuration with only this URL, and we can save this. So you can see here that we have like a target on this context, and we also have a target on this folder from this URL, and all the calls and the folders also have the target, so you can see what is in scope. So you have two types of scanning, which I talked about earlier, and one type of scanning is the standard mode, which is passive, but you also have an attack mode. And if it is on passive, you get the traffic in like we did right now with the script, but then you won't find a lot. It will find some things sometimes if there's just really bad stuff in your response or something. But if the tool can't attack because you said so, then it won't find much. So if we put it on attack mode, you will most likely see a lot of traffic instantly, because it's going to attack all the URLs and the calls we have here, which we've got earlier from our script, and it's going to scan all of them. And in the bottom, you can see that there are 47 things in the attack mode queue, which he's scanning right now. So yeah, he's attacking the application right now. And if there is an alert, which there are, then you will find them here. So we of course know that the Jew shop we have here is just HTTP, and we have no certificate. So that's likely to become one of the issues. And he's found it 3 times so far. And we can also see flags on the folders or calls we have, which are the issues we found are on. So the nice thing is that you can also open one of these alerts, and then you can see all the URLs and eventually the cause and the IDs, the sources, and sometimes yeah, the solution for it, so the developer can fix it. So it's still really busy. We also see in the passive scan queue that there are also a lot of things that we found, because when we attack, we can also find new stuff. So this is becoming bigger and bigger, and we find a lot of things. If we stop this scan, now we can. But if you set this back to maybe standard mode, then it immediately stops, and you can see that this goes to 0. And we could first say on the context we want to spider. So when we're spidering, that's this, yeah, basically the same thing that Google does. Scan the whole site and we find a lot more stuff than we have. You can see that right now. We have a lot of folders added and calls added to this. And it's really fast. You can see that we found 372 new URLs. So we could set it to attack mode again, but that's only handy to do on the start when you are just running your test suites through the tool, and then it's attacking immediately. But what you can also do, and that's the most logical thing to do in the cloud, is that you first run all your functional test automation scripts. All the data goes to like the Docker container where this tool is in, and then when the functional testing is done, you can give a signal or trigger to the OWASP SEP container and save on, and say you can start your active scan. And active scan is just a scan that you say, I want to start it and I want to see when it's done, because after it's done and it's 100%, then we can create a report, and the report we can give to someone else. So let's say we've run our script. We did the spider and we have passively found some stuff we don't know about because we don't have a report. We can start the active scan, which you can also do from the command line, and we do that here on the context because we want to run the active scan with this context. So we open the active scan window from the default context, and then we can create a policy and we can select the technology. So why would you select the technology? Because when you do this internally, you most likely know what software or hardware you use, and if we use MySQL, we maybe don't need to select the other things because the scan will be faster. The target is more clear, and fast is all you want when you deploy CI/CD and want a fast deployment with a security scan in it. So that's handy, and we can also do something with policies. So the policies are basically on a couple of subjects. I think the interesting thing to say here is that if you maybe doing API testing, you don't want client browser testing because we don't have the DOM, so we cannot scan that. So you can set this to off. What's also interesting to say is that you have different strength. So we can set this to low, and then we have a couple of calls which are used in the attack. But when we set this to insane, we have a lot of calls in the attack, and it will almost likely be a denial of service attack, which can crash your server. So medium is, I think default is medium. So that's the most likely you will be scanning. So when this is done, you can just click start scan, and then it will start scanning. And I will cancel this in a minute, but this can take up really long, especially with the juice shop because it has a lot of issues. But what we can see in the alert window is that it finds a lot of stuff. And this color means that the red stuff is really bad. The orange stuff is also bad, but not as bad as red. And when we go lower, yeah, stuff becomes less interesting. It's good to say, I think, that when you set the strength to higher, so maybe high or insane, then you can get also a lot of false positives. And if you find a lot, you have to go to the whole report, and that's yeah, that's not good for your time. So yeah, you can fine tune that if you run this on your own application or environments. So I will stop this scan because it's just 5%, but we already saw we found a lot. So when we are done, and in the cloud, you would check an API, which tells you how much the percentage is of the active scan. And when it's 100%, yeah, you can take that and then say, okay, we are going to generate a report now. And you can maybe destroy the Docker container because you don't need that anymore from the moment. Generating reports is easy. You can just click generate reports from the report menu, and reports come in all sizes and formats. The nice thing is that you can use a template, and in the template we have HTML, JSON, PDF, XML, yeah, a lot of options. And the nice thing with XML is that you, I think someone created the script, and you can also find it on Google. I think it's a PowerShell script which uses XSLT to convert the XML from this tool into an unit, which you can import in Azure. And then you can create like a test report with all those issues in Azure. Yeah, which is very handy. But for now, we will make a modern HTML report. It's very quick, but there's a lot of stuff in it, I think. It's this one. Let's create it again. So this is the report, and we have a lot of stuff in it. So we can see the levels here, and we can see the times we found an issue on this level. And we also have, yeah, a lot of information, all the types of alerts, all the rules, and all the sites you found stuff on. Yeah, that's just really technical, and most likely for the security team or the development to do something with this. So yeah, this looks like it's endless because we found a lot of things. And when you use the XSLT in Azure, you can also make like a compact version of it. So you won't need yeah, a lot of space in your test report. So let's look at the time. Yeah, so we are basically done with the juice shop. So we've created, we've compiled the toolchain, we've run a test script against OWASP SEP, and we've scanned and generated reports from it. So what I want to do now is use Docker Compose down to close this container, because we don't need that anymore. We can maybe start it again later. And then I want to open Vampy which is also a Docker container. So I will start this up, and then I will get back to the slides and tell something about it. Okay. So what is VamPy? VamPy is also a Docker container, which is almost the same as the Juice Shop, but just for APIs. And yeah, that's really nice because we have like 10 calls we can do in the container, and there are like 10 vulnerabilities, which are also widespread over APIs all around the world, and which are found the most. It's a really nice playground for API hacking if you like that. Yeah, you can also download it from this URL, and I will put it in the chat like the other one. And the nice thing about this project in Git is that it also comes with open API documentation, which is really helpful when you're testing with SOAP UI or Postman. And you can also import open API documentation in OWASP, which I will show you in a minute. There is also a Postman collection included in this project, so you can also import the Postman collection and do some testing right away. So we have the OWASP SEP tool, and what I will do is just delete this, and we clear the context. So we remove the scope, and I will also clean up all the alerts, and maybe clean up the scans, which is not necessary, but then we have just a clean project. You can also create a new project. So we are clean and we have Postman. So I already imported the VamPy collection from the Git project, which I cloned, which you saw in Visual Studio Code. And I opened that in Postman. So you see a lot of folders with calls you can do. I think some of them have pre-made tests which you can use. You can also write your own test if you like to do this yourself. What I will do first is use this call because we create and repopulate the database. So we get feedback from that that it's populated. And what's important if you want to run this to the scanner is also that you check in the tab proxy that you also have these 3 checkboxes on with the proxy server you want to send it to. So we have also the same port here as that we had in the toolchain, and just a local host. If you are running the Postman with Newman on the command line, you can also do that by setting this variable with your IP and port. So you have http:/proxy is and then localhost 8081. And I think you have to put them with quotes around them to make a string of it. And when you do that, and before you run the Newman script, then you will also send it to the proxy. So you can also do this in the cloud, easy. So we have these checkboxes on, the proxy is set, and we are still running all the scripts. I can ask for all the users with the usernames, passwords. Maybe I want to retrieve all the books because we have a book API and we have some example books right here. So I've made some calls, and you can also run every script if you want. And we have the Juice Shop open again, or sorry, the OWASP SEP tool. And what we see here is that we now have localhost 5002 because that's where we've activated our Docker container with the VamPy Docker. Nice thing to mention here is that you can also start this Docker container with this parameter, which is now set to 1, so it's vulnerable. And you can also set it to 0, and then you have a secure Docker container. So you can check what's the difference between the secure container and the vulnerable container. You can, of course, also start them both at the same time. So you have one at 5001 and one at 5002. That's also nice to try. So I will not do the same scan as we did before, because yeah, that would be just the same thing. But we also have a URL here. We can also include that in the context again and just run a scan. And keep in mind that you remove stuff from the policies which are not needed for APIs. There is also a nice feature which also works very good in the cloud, and that's creating your own workflow. I will not go deeply in that. You can find it out yourself, but it's nice to mention for APIs, because when you add this automation tab, you can create a new workflow, and you could choose a profile which says Open API. And the Vampire project in Git has an Open API document. So when we save this profile, which had selected some modules, and we save this, then we can also configure every step of the workflow. Let's say Open API. We can select a file here, and we can choose a target URL. So if you do this, you can also predefine your report. So you can say, I want XML because I'm running in Azure and I want to convert it with another program to something usable in Azure. Then you can do that, because you can export this workflow as a YAML file and then just put it in your repository and attach it to your Docker container. So that's also a nice functionality of this tool. So let's look at the time. And I will go back to my presentation. I had a slide over on Postman and I didn't look at it. We can skip that one for now. So the last step in this workflow is reporting. So I use this tool called Orangebeard, and that's I think a subscription model based, and you can send all sorts of reports, or you can generate all sorts of reports with it. So what you basically have is a lot of reporters and listeners, which you can implement in Cucumber or Ranorex or Newman or the toolchain /fitness. And what it will do is it will send your test traffic to an API and do something with it. So I will try to combine this with a little part of Azure, which is coming after this slide. So if I'm right, I have this Orangebeard open right here. And you see some blocks. So what we have is every time we run a test tool with a script, and I can show you that in a second, then we will get one of those blocks. So I will open my Azure project, then you can see. So in Azure, we've got, this is just a demo, but this is my project where I cloned the toolchain project, which you can all download at the link I shared before. And when we check the repo, we can see a lot of files, which you can also find in the Git repository. think this is a slightly different version, but it's basically the same. And yeah, when you want to do something with this, we can do that in the pipelines. And I've created a pipeline for Ubuntu. And if we edit the pipeline, we can take a closer look at the script. So what I say right here is, I have no triggers because I want to start this myself, but I can also start it from another place or another thing. I want to use the Ubuntu latest VM because that has all the stuff and it's really faster as Windows VM. So I want to use that for my testing. And because we get from Microsoft Ubuntu latest, we don't know what Chrome version we have. So we want to detect the Chrome version. So I modified the script I found on the internet, and what it does is it gets the Chrome version and asks an API from the Google APIs, which Chrome driver you need with that Chrome version. So, and you save that in a variable, and then you can use that in your script. So all the dependencies I use with the toolchain, which are downloaded locally, which we saw here. So we have all these dependencies when starting the toolchain. Those dependencies are all saved locally on my computer right now. Within Azure, I used the Azure artifacts, which I can open. And then we will see all the artifacts or the dependencies that are used by my toolchain. And before we can use that, we need to authenticate ourselves against this company or this artifact fee, so we can use those artifacts. So we don't have to re-download everything again. It's only transferring them from the artifact feed to the VM where you're working on. And the last step is a Maven task and just running the same thing we did locally. So we have the MVN, which we will do locally, and then we will have the goals. So we want a clean project always. We don't do compile, but we do test compile because it's a little different version, which is also packed in the package. We want to start and test, which you do with this parameter, and then you want to add your own parameters. So we have the fitness switch to run. So this is just a variable which I added in the variables. And you can see here that I wanted to run the HSEC examples slim test utility fixtures. And when you go back, that's a very nice suite. That's always in the package. So when you go to the HSEC examples, you have a lot of examples here, which you can immediately run also with the browser. And the nice thing, let's see, slim test utility fixtures. So if we go to slim test and we go to utility fixtures, I'm basically running all these test scripts, which are a lot of different kind of tests. And I want to run them in the cloud. So I put this pet here and this variable I do place here. So when I run the toolchain on the command line, the tool knows what scripts I want to run. And we've also got our Chrome version for the driver on top with the PowerShell script. So, and we saved it in a variable. So we want that variable to pass along to the toolchain. So there is this option called Selenium Chrome driver version. And if you put the right version at the end of it, then it will download the right driver for you that will work with the Chrome version on the VM you get. and it will use that in the test. So that's very easy. And then we have 4 options for Orangebeard. One is the endpoint. We have the access token, which are all put in variables with the lock on it, so you can't get them anymore. And you want your project name and your test set. And I will then run it in batch mode, so I don't get as much logging as I need. And when we go to variables, we can see that the access token, the endpoint, are gone. We can't see them anymore. And we have this project called listener demos, and we have called this test set Azure demo. So every time I will run this, we see a block in Orangebeard with the name Azure demo, and we get it in the project listener demos. So what I want to do is start this run, and then it will run all these scripts in the utility fixture suite. And when we've done that, we will have a look in Orangebeard to see what happened, and in Azure. I think this can take quite a while. I think 1 or 2 minutes. But when this is running, I want to check Orangebeard with you because I already have some runs here. So the nice thing is when the run is starting, we can see the run is in progress. So when the run is in progress, we get a row like this, and then it's running, and we can also check live what the feedback on the test is. So if we get maybe get one from the Jew shop. So I did some demos this morning, and I also did a test on the Jew shop and sent it to Orangebeard. So we have this block for the Jew shop, which every time we run the Jew shop, we get a new run, because we're on number 7 right now. And it took like 22 seconds. So we open this, and we see a lot of our tests. We can see that the suite setup and the teardown we used for our Chrome driver starting and closing, which did go well. And in the end, we have the login script, which failed because I think myself that the user was not there. So we open that, and we can then see all the steps that were in the test script. So we have the login scenario that we've talked about. You can see all the steps in this scenario that went all well. But in the end, the last part, logout, didn't work well because there was something wrong with it. So we have the screenshot, which we can open. It's on the attachments, and we can download it, or we can enlarge it. I think it's really hard to see for you guys, but I see invalid email or password. So I think the user is just not there. So we can then categorize this issue. We can say this is a project bug, an automation issue, a system issue, or something we need to investigate a little longer. So I now know, my test setup was not good because, I had to make a script to generate a new user, and that's the thing that goes wrong right here. So I can categorize this as automation issue. And the nice thing that Orangebeard can do for you is look at the stack trace every time you run a new test run, and if the next time the same issue occurs, then it will tell you that it's an automation issue and that you didn't do it well. Maybe you forgot the user again, and it will check the stack trace against the history, like we see here, and then it can tell you what to do, or what issues you have. We can also see the last runs, and this run was 7% faster than the last one. So that's really nice. And the reason why I use this is because you can also use multiple tools. So we have Postman and we have Toolchain, and we can do maybe Cucumber or something. You can have a lot of environments, maybe the test or acceptance or development in all kinds of blocks with names. So you have a nice view of what you're doing. So looking at the time, I think I have 7 minutes left. Now, I already talked about the cloud, so we will look how that went. Let's check the Azure portal. So this one is done. So we can see here 100% of our tests passed, and we can check here all the steps. So I built in some logging. So what we can see here is that the latest matching version of the Chrome driver is this one. So we've checked our Chrome version, and we've called the API and checked what version we need. That's this one, and we put it in the command line for the toolchain, and that downloaded the right version for the run. We then authenticated against Maven, the artifact feed, and then this is basically looking the same as the tests we've done or compiled at our own computer. And you can see 18 tests are run, zero failures, 0 errors, and 2 were skipped. So when we go back to the job and we click on our test results, I also imported the JUnit that was generated by the test, so I can eventually see how much tests are done or failed, or I can monitor this. But the real data of my test is in Orangebeard. So if there is something wrong, I can see in detail with an image, what was going wrong. And you can also, if you like, this is the run we did a couple of minutes ago, like 15:21. So this is run 2. And we did 17 tests, which are the ones I showed you in the toolchain. And they all went good, except for 2, which were skipped because some kind of issue or reason. You can also, if you have this open, you can also export a PDF. So if you need to send something to management or someone else, you can also make a report. So that's kind of basically my workflow from having a lot of test automation and trying to use that for other goals like security, using it in Azure. Also having a nice monitoring and test dashboarding for my own teams, but also for management, which can also maybe they have some interest in what's happening or need a report, or you need to send them a report. And that's really nice. And we are also working on stuff with performance. So I will tell you a small part of that, because we also want to go to the questions. But what we are doing with the performance is just recording the HAR file you can generate in your browser. So when we say inspect and you have the network, you can click what you want. And then after you clicked a lot, or you have your test script do a lot, you can download the HAR file. And can't find it right away, but it should be possible to download that file here. So what we do is we start in front of our test, we say create a HAR file, and we close it down afterwards in the suite teardown. And then we save this file, send it to an API, which converts it to a JMX file, which is used by gmeter. and then we run the small performance test on Azure. And we also have a nice performance report that goes with it. And yeah, maybe you can try to run that parallel. So in the end, you have done your functional, you have done your security scan, and you have a nice performance test, which is, yeah, just creating a lot of valuable information and revenue for your team. So I think that's it. Then maybe we have some questions.
First of all, I'd like to thank you a lot, Michael. That was a wonderful presentation, I think.
Yeah, some technical issues, but I think it went well.
Okay. That's okay. That's totally okay. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. Okay, we can just wait 1 or 2 minutes to get if we have any questions.
You can also put them in the comments, then I can check them later.
Yeah, I think it's quite comprehensive for the people. So don't let anyone to have any questions. So Michael, that was really helpful for us. And thank you for joining Live2Test. Thank you for
it was nice.
Giving your time for us. And I hope to see you soon with our upcoming events.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Thank you so much.